The raindrops were falling on the ground as if the sky itself was weeping. Water had spread everywhere. The streets had turned into rivers, cars were half submerged, and people were running in all directions to save their lives. Amidst this terrifying scene, a red car stood half drowned in the water. Amid the roar of the rain, a muffled scream could be heard from inside the car. Inside the car, a woman was trapped. The water had reached the windows, and she was raising both hands, crying out for help. Fear and tears were evident in her eyes. She knew that if no one came in time, the water would steal her final breath. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, a man appeared. He stood knee-deep in the water, holding a large wrench in his hand. Raindrops fell on his face, but his eyes were fixed on one thing, the helpless woman inside the car. He paused for a moment, as if wondering whether he could do it. But then a voice rose from his heart. If this woman doesn't survive today, my conscience will never forgive me tomorrow. He stepped forward and reached the car. The fierce waves of water threatened to unsteady him, but his resolve remained unshaken. He swung the wrench hard against the car's window. A loud thud echoed, but the glass didn't break. The woman screamed and shut her eyes. But the man didn't give up. He struck the wrench again, this time with even more force. The rain grew heavier, lightning cracked in the sky, but his feet stayed firm. With each strike, his own breaths grew heavier, yet his heart held one unwavering resolve: this life must be saved. Finally, on the third strike, the glass shattered into cracks. The woman gestured for help with trembling hands. The man broke through the glass, reached inside, and grabbed her hand. Water was rushing into the car rapidly. Wasting time would be like inviting death. He pulled the woman out of the car with all his strength. The force of the water tried to sweep his feet away, but he stood his ground. The woman's fear was slowly turning into trust. She felt that perhaps life had sent this man to give her another chance. At last, they both emerged from the water and reached a relatively safe spot. The woman sat on the ground, panting, tears streaming from her eyes. She kept saying, "Thank you," over and over. Her voice carried a mix of pain and joy that only someone who had faced death and returned could understand. The man was trembling too, his breaths heavy, but there was peace on his face. He knew he had saved a life today. And that peace was greater than any reward or praise. But the story didn't end there. It was only the beginning. Because the real test of courage was yet to come. The rain showed no signs of stopping. The sky roared incessantly, and the city's streets resembled an ocean. The man who had saved the woman from the jaws of death was exhausted, but he knew his work wasn't done. In the distance, more people were trapped in cars, waiting for help. The woman, with a trembling voice, said, "For God's sake, don't put your life in danger, you've already done the greatest thing by saving me." But the man smiled and replied, "It's not just your life that's trapped, there are others caught in the water. If I stop now, my courage will remain incomplete." Hearing these words, the woman's eyes widened in awe. For the first time, she realized that some people don't live just for themselves but breathe for the sake of others' lives. The man waded back into the water. Along the way, he saw a small child separated from his parents, clinging to a pole as the fierce waves threatened to sweep him away. The child was screaming loudly. The man rushed toward him and, with all his strength, lifted the child into his arms. The boy was trembling with fear, but when he felt the man's strong arms around him, his tears stopped. Nearby, two elderly women were trapped in a rickshaw, with water filling the inside. The man gathered his courage again, reached them, opened the door, and carefully helped both women out one by one. The rain grew even heavier, but he kept rescuing people without pause. Every face was marked with fear, but the moment they saw him, a spark of hope ignited. People began to say, "He's an angel, God sent him to save us." But the truth was, he wasn't an angel, just an ordinary man. The only difference was that he chose courage over fear. As the woman he had saved earlier watched all this, her perspective changed. She realized that true bravery isn't just about saving oneself, it's about keeping others alive too. Silently, she prayed for God to keep this man safe forever. Soon, rescue teams arrived. The man, exhausted, sat down on the side. His clothes were soaked, his hands injured, and his breaths heavy. Yet, there was a spark in his eyes, the spark of a victor. The rescue workers approached him and said, "What you've done is unbelievable. We saw you risk your life to save so many people. You've inspired us to work even faster. The man simply replied, if my courage saved even one life, that's my greatest achievement. The woman slowly approached him. Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they weren't tears of fear, they were tears of gratitude. With trembling hands, she said, you didn't just save my life, you taught me that true beauty lies in courage and sacrifice for others. The man smiled, looked up at the sky, and said, the rain may stop, the water may recede, but if a person's courage breaks, it never mends. Remember, in tough times, we must hold on to hope instead of fear. His words silenced everyone around. It was as if they had sunk deep into their hearts. Each person quietly resolved to become a pillar of support for others in their own lives. Gradually, the rain began to subside. The clouds parted, and rays of light broke through. People started helping one another. The man stood up slowly and walked away quietly, seeking neither fame nor praise. But even after he left, his memory was etched forever in the hearts of those he saved. This story became a symbol of how one person's courage in difficult times can change not only their own life but the lives of others. That day, the man didn't just save one woman, he became a beacon of hope for countless families. Glowing star lesson. This incident teaches us that true strength in life doesn't come from wealth or powerful weapons but from courage and sacrifice for others. The person who stands up for others in difficult moments is the true hero.